Hello, listeners. Here's another special episode of Lateral Thinking Puzzles. These are puzzles where one of us describes a strange-sounding situation and the other has to work out what's going on, asking only yes or no questions.
And thanks so much to everyone who's been sending in puzzles for us to try. We can always use more, so please do keep sending them to podcast@futilitycloset.com.
We hope you enjoy these, and we'll be back next week with another dose of quirky history and another lateral thinking puzzle.
This puzzle is based on something that I heard on the podcast, No Such Thing as a Fish. In 2017, someone paid £2,000 for several signatures, even though the buyer knew that most of them were fake. Why?
Most of them were fake. Did they know that some of them then were authentic? Mm-hmm. And maybe those were so valuable that they outweighed the cost of the duds?
No.
That's not it?
That's not it.
Okay. £2,000 for how many did you say?
Several signatures.
When we say signatures, we mean someone's autograph, a written...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it matter where this happened? Would it help me to know... Well, answer that question.
It might matter some. I don't know. They paid £2,000, so it happened in the UK.
Okay.
So.
All right, so maybe that'll help. Would it help me to know whose autograph it was? Were they all the autographs of one person? Of the same person?
No.
Oh, that's even stranger. Okay, so that answers the other question. Someone paid a lot of money for a batch of autographs.
Yes.
From various people.
Yes.
Knowing that some of them were not.
Knowing that some of them were fake.
Do I need to know who bought them?
No.
Do I need to know what purpose they had? I mean, were they buying them just to own them?
Yes.
Wow, that's really strange. Okay. Do I need to know the source of them? Like, were they a certain kind of document, for example, or they were, where they had come from?
It wasn't, it doesn't matter a lot what the document was. I'm not sure what you mean by the source of them.
Well, I mean, just mean an autograph can just be written deliberately as someone signing their name. Or it can be on something. I'm thinking
like a collectible item. Yeah. Do you mean? Or
anything.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Just,
what you mean.
I mean,
yeah.
you're either signing your name on a document or
yeah, and like no, you wouldn't say this was like an official document that people had to sign anyway. Is
so
that
it's
what you're
not,
trying to ask?
Yeah, and so maybe that
Right.
the document would be valuable.
Oh, I see.
reason.
No, yeah, no,
But
that's not it. Now that I finally understand the question. No, that's not it.
I wasn't asking you very articulate. All right. Some person buys a lot of autographs. Would the person have paid... how can I even ask this? Did the person regard the duds as worthless?
No.
Okay. That ought to help. And how many did you say there were altogether?
There were 4. I didn't say, but there were 4 signatures.
Person paid...
£2,000
for 4 signatures.
For 4 signatures. And the buyer knew, I will tell you, that 3 of the 4 were fake.
That's very specific.
It is very specific.
Are they 4 famous people?
Yes.
4 different people?
4 different people. They're not 4 Siamese twins or a cloned person.
Do the 4 people go together? Are they associated
Yes.
with one another?
Yes.
So I'd have heard of them.
Yes.
Is it the Beatles?
It is the Beatles.
I guess that's not...
4 famous people in the
I don't
UK.
deserve a lot of
Has
credit
to be
for
the Beatles.
Okay, so John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
Yes.
1 each.
Yes.
3 of them are duds.
Yeah.
But one of them is good.
One of them is the real signature. But the one signature by itself would not have commanded £2,000.
Yeah, see, that's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Right, but that is not the case. It was not that the person would pay £2,000 for one authentic signature.
And had to buy all 4 because they knew.
Right, because
that was the only big way of being sure to get.
Yeah,
That's
that's not it.
Why would you pay £2,000 for 3 dud signatures? Especially if you don't have some plan in mind for using them for something. Is it to get them away from someone else?
No.
To outbid someone else?
No.
And you say it doesn't matter what they're going to...
Let's just presume it's a collector.
I like the puzzle.
Yeah. Why don't you figure out who did all the signatures?
Did someone forge them? They weren't signed. One of them was signed by...
Yes.
An actual Beatle.
Yes.
And then did the same person sign the other 3?
Yes, they were all 4 done by John Lennon. Lennon wrote all the best from the Beatles, followed by the 4 signatures on a photo of the group on the cover of a newspaper. And apparently he did it just as a joke. And it said that his fakes of George Harrison's and Ringo Starr's signatures were pretty good, but his attempt at Paul McCartney's signature was so bad that it raised suspicions. But the fact that they were all faked by Lennon
makes them valuable.
Right, exactly. It made them worth almost as much as if all 4 had actually signed
So a Ringo
them.
Starr signature signed by John Lennon is worth it.
Yes.
That's really good. In 2012, police in Sussex, England were using closed-circuit television cameras to monitor an area that had been hit by a series of burglaries. When they spotted a man acting suspiciously, they contacted an officer on foot patrol in the area and sent him after the suspect. But though police said the officer was hot on the suspect's heels for 20 minutes, he was unable to capture him. Why?
Was the suspect invisible? That's all
Yes,
I
that's
can
it.
think of.
Oh my God, I thought that would take you a lot longer.
Okay, was the suspect a human being?
Yes.
And there was a police officer in the vicinity of where the suspect was. Mm-hmm. And when you say hot on his heels, meaning he was very close,
yes.
physically close. Mm-hmm. Did the suspect had a jetpack or some other mode of transportation that they weren't expecting?
No, I really want that to be it, but no, that's not it.
Oh, a jetpack. That would be cool. Was the police officer able to physically see the suspect?
No.
Is that germane? What was preventing him from seeing the suspect? Like there was a lot of fog or there was a lot of, I don't know, there were fences in the way. Like there was something preventing the police officer from seeing the suspect?
I'll say yes to that question.
Did the police officer have normal vision?
Yes.
Okay. So the police officer had normal vision. Could he see other things in the environment clearly?
Yes.
But he could not see the suspect clearly.
That's right.
Was the suspect wearing some kind of cloaking or camouflaging device?
No, that's
to
an
hide
actual
himself?
question. But no, he wasn't.
But yet the police officer couldn't see him clearly. Was there something impeding, like physically impeding the officers being able to see him? Like a fence or a building, like something between the two of them?
I can't answer that.
Was the suspect would you say he was in something, like in a vehicle, in a building,
No.
in something? So he's outside.
Yes.
Okay. On foot?
Yes.
Alone?
Yes.
Okay. He's not surrounded by a flock of pigeons that are hiding him from view.
Opportune pigeon.
He's hiding in a bush, or you'd say he's outside or not. Okay.
Yes,
Not
he'd be in plain
some-
sight to
He'd be in plain
someone
sight to
else.
someone else, but not. Did it have something to do with this particular police officer?
Yes.
He's colorblind, and the suspect was all dressed in. I don't know.
No.
Okay. You said he had normal vision. Was the police officer very short?
No, these are all excellent guesses. No.
Okay. Did the police officer have some distinguishing physical characteristics, such as impaired vision or very short or something like that?
No.
Okay. Was the police officer wearing something that would have prevented him or her from seeing more clearly?
No.
Okay. Does it matter what the lighting conditions were or the weather or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Does it matter where this was specifically?
No.
Anything about the location?
No.
Okay. Would you say this was... Okay, I guess there's 3 buckets here that I can pursue. Something about the police officer, something about the environment, or something about the suspect, or none of the above.
The police officer and the suspect, both of those things.
Both of them. So was it some combination of things that I have to figure out something about the police officer and the suspect? Did they know each other previously? Did they have some previous history?
I have to say yes to that. This, I should, just to be clear, this whole chase was being guided by the closed-circuit monitoring officer who was watching it all transpire.
Was it an identical twin of the police officer, and so they couldn't tell which one was the suspect and which one was the police
I hadn't even thought
officer?
of that. No, that's not it.
So they were guiding him all
That's
wrong?
probably happened at some point. That must be really confusing.
So was the police officer receiving instructions?
Yeah,
or-
he was getting radioed.
Okay.
Someone was watching this whole thing by cameras and was sending him instructions about where the suspect was.
And was there something about the instructions he was receiving that were kind of throwing him off or deceiving him?
I wouldn't... Well, it's hard to
Or
answer
that weren't helpful somehow? Was the cameras, whoever watching the cameras, were they able to clearly identify the suspect and where the suspect correctly was?
Yes.
Yes. So
and radioed that correctly and told the officer.
So it's not that the cameras are being tricked or fooled
No.
or receiving inaccurate information.
That's right.
So was the police officer really directionally challenged? So like they would say, go to your left and he'd go to the right by mistake or something?
No, the police officer would go directly to the place
that he'd been told to. Was there some like real lag in the whole communication process? So he was getting really old information?
No.
You know?
And every time he arrived at the street or alley or whatever it was,
the suspect wasn't there.
The suspect wasn't there.
The suspect wasn't there. Not that he couldn't see the suspect.
Right.
The suspect was not there.
That's right.
But would the person who was looking on the camera, would he see that the suspect was still there?
No. Well...
Okay. Oh, was the suspect somehow receiving this information too? So he knew he was hearing the communication, so he knew when he'd been spotted and when the policeman was coming, and so he knew when to duck out.
Another good guess. So let me say this: an observer who was watching this, who wasn't the monitoring person, just another third person watching all this, would never see the police officer and the suspect at the same time.
Because they're the same person.
Because they're the same person.
Oh, they're not identical twins. They're the same person.
The suspect was the officer himself. He was patrolling the neighborhood in plain clothes, and the monitoring officer marked him as a suspect. As the plainclothesman searched the neighborhood, he was constantly told the suspect was in the same street. A senior officer told Police Magazine, every time the man darted into another side alleyway, the PC was turning immediately into the same alleyway, but every time the CCTV operator asked what he could see, there was no trace. Finally, a sergeant entered the control room, recognized the suspect, and laughed hysterically at the mistake. A senior officer said, with the sergeant's sides aching from laughter, he pointed to the PC that the operator had been watching him unaware that he was a plainclothes officer. Thus, the PC had been chasing himself around the street.
That is really funny. That is just so funny that the PC never caught on to what he was doing.
For 20 minutes, he was chasing himself through the street.
This puzzle is based on something I read in Dan Lewis's Now I Know e-newsletter. Why does New York City pay people to pretend to be homeless?
So there are people who have homes.
Yes.
When you say pretend to be homeless, that means, I guess, spend some time on the streets? Is that what that means? Pretend to be homeless?
Yeah. There's more than that, but that's part of it.
But I'm saying whatever this accomplishes is accomplished. People actually have to not go home, I guess. They have to live the life of a homeless person.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay, they have to live some part of it? Like they have to fulfill some subset of the description of a homeless person.
I guess. I'm not sure you're going in the right direction with this.
All right. Pretend to be homeless.
Yeah. They do have to be on the streets.
Is this to like test or assess some provision that the city makes to help the homeless or attend to them somehow?
Yes.
That feels like progress.
Yes, no, that's very good progress.
Okay, so the city comes up with some measure, I guess, to help, would you say, help the homeless?
Okay.
And they just need to try it out provisionally before they implement it.
Yeah, that's not quite right, but it's vaguely along the right track.
Okay, do I need to work out what this provision is specifically?
Yeah, I think that would be difficult because it's not exactly a provision directly designed to help the homeless as you might be thinking of it. But this is along the right track. This is along the right area.
Well, the other way you could go with that is it to somehow affect the existing homeless population, like to get them to behave differently?
No.
That's not it.
Mm-mm.
Well, okay. So let's say they do this, whatever it is. So they pay some people, I guess, hire some people.
Yes.
To try this out, whatever it is.
It's not really to try something out.
To go through some process they've designed. This is so abstract. So the city is the one who's administering this, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they need some people to, I don't know how to say this, go through it.
Yeah.
To have it apply to them. Are they assessing the people's behavior, the way they respond to something?
No.
So they just need some people who are nominally homeless.
Nominally homeless.
in order to... So that happens. These people...
Yes. They get hired to pretend to be homeless.
Present as homeless.
Yeah.
And the city gets some information out of that?
Yes. Yes.
Do they interview the people? Do they...
A little bit. I interview is a little strong, but close.
Because it's... I think you said it's not that they're assessing their behavior.
Correct.
So I'm trying to get at what they're actually getting from these people.
Yes, but they are getting information, some useful information.
From people who pretend. Are they... But interview isn't right. It's not that they ask them to live homelessly for some time and they just ask them about their experience of it.
It is not that.
That's not it. Is it something to do with their homes? Like they just need them to be out?
No.
Out of their homes and want to see something like that. All right. Well, that seems like... Why would you do that? Why would you ask
They're
people?
not... They're interviewed if you count interview as being asked one question. But they're not interviewed in like a whole full interview.
Would it help me to guess what the question is?
You might be able to guess what the question is.
Pretend to be homeless and we'll ask you one question.
Yes.
And the city gets something valuable out of that.
They get information, yes.
Would they get the same value out of this if they just asked homeless people directly, whatever this question is?
They're going to ask homeless people the same question, but they get different information or more useful adjunct information by asking pretend homeless people too.
Would a real homeless person give a different answer to this question?
No.
So you get a real person who has a home.
Yes.
And ask them, if you were homeless, how would you answer this question?
No.
I mean, in fact, that's what you're doing. So
yeah.
Do they actually...
You're telling them how to answer the question. The question is, are you homeless? And they pay people to say yes, even though they're not. Yes.
So these people say, yes, I am homeless. And is this like a census thing or some kind of tax rolls or something? Trying to register?
Actually, I take it back. I'm sorry. I misled you. They would be asked if they were homeless, but then they would fess up that they weren't after they were pretending to be homeless.
Okay, where a homeless person would say, yes, I am.
Yeah.
So what would that tell the city then?
I'm sorry. They would identify themselves as being only pretending to be homeless.
I mean,
but at first,
that's even
they
more
would present
kind of
themselves as being homeless at first.
And then they're asked, are you homeless? And they say, no.
Right.
Is this like something to do with law enforcement? Like just...
No.
And you say it's not the census or tax rolls or anything?
It's not the census, like the formal census that's done. But
they're just counting the population of homeless people in New York City?
Yes. And why would you want to get some people to pretend to be homeless and ask them the same question? What would that tell you? If you pay a certain number of people to pretend to be homeless and go out there and look like they're homeless, and you know how many of them there are.
Is this, there's a technique. Is this counting the proportion of yeses to nos as a way of estimating the total population of homeless in the city?
No, not exactly. No.
What would that tell you? So you hire some people to pretend to be homeless.
Yeah, they pretend to be homeless. They act like they're homeless.
And then you interview, presumably, some homeless and some of these people.
Yeah.
And some say yes and some say no.
And some will identify themselves as the pretend people, the hired people.
Mm-hmm. And the homeless people presumably honestly say, yes, I am homeless.
Yes.
So that'll tell you, I keep coming back to...
Because you know how many pretend people you've sent out.
Right. So you look at the numbers, the proportion of no's to yeses, and that should tell you how many homeless people there are, because you know the proportion... You know the number of expected... Maybe that doesn't work.
Yeah. Like if you send out, let's say, 200 fake homeless people, and then you send out people and you want them to try to count all the homeless people that are actually on the street, what does it tell you that you know there are 200 decoys out there? It's so you can see if they all get found or how many of them get found.
Oh, I see.
So you can gauge the accuracy of the ones you are counting.
That makes sense. So if you don't find all 200 of them,
then
that tells you that you're not counting the whole population.
Right. And they actually employ people who used to be homeless in the large part, or they train them how to act homeless so that they can go out and be in the kinds of places where homeless people really would be. And then they see if their little census takers find them all.
That's interesting because there's no other way that I can think of
To know if
that you could be sure. Because otherwise
Yeah.
you just count the homeless people and you have no idea if you've got all of them.
if you're underestimating the true population or
That's
not.
interesting. Most Muppets are left-handed. Why?
Most Muppets are left-handed. Why? Does it have to do with the fact that the puppeteers are right-handed?
Yes.
So I'm trying to think. Is it because of the way? Is it because they're facing the camera? No. So are the sticks crossed? You control the left hand with your right hand?
No.
So by Muppet, you mean like Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy?
Yes.
Okay. You're laughing at me.
I just really like this puzzle.
You just really like this puzzle. You seem really pleased. I'm like, what am I saying? Okay. It's because the puppeteers are right-handed. Why would you make the puppet left-handed? So are you controlling the Muppet's left hand with your left hand if you're the Muppeteer?
Yes.
Huh. But you're right-handed.
Yes. Well, most people are.
Okay.
Most puppeteers are.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the puppeteer is right-handed?
Yes, it does.
It does. But they're not crossed.
Right.
Right. I'm like waving my hands around here like I'm controlling a Muppet. So I'm using my left hand to control Kermit's left hand.
That's right.
And for some reason, I would want him to be using primarily his left hand. Is it because my right hand is doing something else?
Yes.
My right hand is like controlling his mouth, his face.
Yes.
Oh.
That's basically it.
So Kermit's just not going to use his right hand very much, is he?
Right. If you picture yourself operating a Muppet, you use your dominant hand in the head, which for most puppeteers is the right hand. So it's only your left hand free to operate an arm.
A smoke detector with no battery in it still manages to save a man's life during a fire. How?
Is this true?
Supposedly.
A smoke detector with no battery in it. Okay. So you were saying then that the smoke detector doesn't go off?
Correct.
That's not how it saves him.
Correct.
And when you say smoke detector, I'm picturing like the one, I can almost see it from here. It's like a little plastic disc.
Yeah.
It's about that size
Yeah.
and shape.
Right.
Does it matter where this happens or when?
No.
Or his identity?
No.
Does he use the smoke detector as an implement in some way?
No. Oh, that's a good thought.
Not
No.
to like open up, I don't even know what.
Smash open a window.
Can't really do much with this, I guess. One smoke detector. You said it saves his life.
Yeah.
Do I need to know, I guess I already asked this, anything more about the circumstances? His occupation or...
No.
Are there other people involved?
No.
So he's in a building, I guess, when
Yes.
the building
Yes.
catches fire.
He's in his home.
The smoke detector doesn't go off because
Right.
there's no battery.
Right.
But he snatches it valiantly from the wall?
No.
From the ceiling?
No.
Oh, does it matter where it is? It's just somewhere. It hasn't been mounted yet.
It
It has been mounted.
mounted in a sense.
Okay, so it's attached to something,
Yes.
and he removes it.
No.
Because I thought maybe that would reveal some kind of opening or...
No. Yeah. No. No. He doesn't remove it.
It's attached to something.
Yes.
Would you say he manipulates it in some way?
No, he does not.
Okay, so he doesn't use it as an implement. Does he touch it at all?
He does not touch it.
And there aren't other people involved.
Right.
Does the fire do something to the smoke detector?
Yes.
Does the smoke detector catch fire?
No. Oh, look, my smoke detector's burning. I better leave.
Okay. So the smoke detector affects the fire affects the smoke detector. Is it the smoke itself affects it somehow?
The heat.
The heat from the fire affects the smoke detector.
Yes.
Melts it?
Not the smoke detector. Doesn't melt the smoke detector.
Okay, but melts something?
Yeah, I guess you'd say that.
Melts the surface to which it's attached?
Not exactly.
Okay,
But close.
melts something that then affects the smoke detector somehow?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, so is it like some plastic item, I guess?
Not,
That melts
not sure
beside
if
plastic.
it's plastic.
All right, so
I'm not
something
sure.
melts. A fire starts and melts something.
Yeah, sort of melts. Yeah.
And that substance, whatever it is,
yeah.
drips or falls or melts onto the smoke detector?
No. The substance is connected to the smoke detector.
Oh, the wires? Something about the electrical?
No. Remember I said it was mounted in a fashion. Sort of mounted.
But not on a wall or a ceiling.
It is mounted on the ceiling.
Oh, it's mounted on the ceiling.
Mounted, used loosely, but...
Oh, so something frees it from the ceiling? The gravity would, I guess. The fire... I have this picture that the fire is bad enough that it somehow burns the detector loose from the ceiling and it falls and wakes him?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes, he put it up with tape with no battery in it. And was dozing in a chair when the smoke detector fell on his head.
Which is a perfectly valid... Like, he can't sue the company now.
I heard about this on the 40th anniversary episode of the British show The News Quiz. And on the show, they read amusing stories from local newspapers. And this story was said to be from the Huddersfield Daily Examiner. They didn't mention a year, though. And since it was an anniversary special, they were running clips from the last 40 years. So I wasn't able to find this news item myself to verify it.
Story.
Yeah. But if anyone lives in or near Huddersfield and you can verify the story, please let us know. Yes.
This is from listener David White. A man who was just about to start a new job ended up losing the job because he didn't flush the toilet enough. Why did that tank his job?
Oh, my. So he never even had the job.
That's right.
He didn't flush the toilet enough. Does that have anything to do with astronauts?
No, I can see why you would think that.
They have weird toilets in space. Okay. By flushing the toilet, you mean a toilet like in a bathroom, like what I would think of as a toilet?
Yes.
Had he used the toilet in the way that a toilet is normally used?
I am going to say yes.
Does this have anything to do with drug testing?
No.
Ah.
Good guess.
Because usually, they have you do something in a bathroom before, to get drug tested.
Yeah, no, it's a
before
good
you
thought.
get a job.
That's not it.
Am I to presume that he used the bathroom, say, while he was there for the interview?
No.
Okay. All right, let's back up. Did he interview for this job?
I'm going to say no.
But he almost got the job.
Yes.
Does it have anything to do with bathrooms or toilets or plumbing?
The job itself?
Yes.
No.
He didn't flush the toilet enough. Does this have something to do with crime?
No.
Like flushing drugs down a toilet or...
No.
No.
All very creative guesses.
I keep coming up with things and it's like you're shooting me down. He didn't flush the toilet enough. A particular toilet that he didn't flush enough?
Yes.
In a specific location?
Yes.
Inside a building?
Yes.
Inside a particular building?
Yes.
Like with a specific name, like the White House?
No.
Okay. But a particular kind of building, like a hospital?
I wouldn't... Well, I mean, yes, it was... Because it was a particular building, it had a particular kind, but no, it wasn't like that.
Okay. Was it his own toilet?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't get a job because he didn't flush his own toilet enough.
That's right.
And it doesn't have anything to do with trying to flush something down it like something illegal.
No.
Just the regular contents of a toilet.
That's right.
And nothing else.
That's right.
And he didn't flush his own toilet enough.
Right.
Is this something to do with interfering with bugging or letting people listening in on you?
No. Another good guess.
And he lost the job. Now, so the question is, how would his potential employers have known? By job, do you mean employment?
Yes.
Not somebody refused to marry him or like a personal relationship.
It was a job.
So his potential employer or employers somehow knew that he hadn't flushed the toilet enough?
Yes. Well, it...
Do they live with him?
It came to light because someone... how can I say this?
Okay. There are other people involved?
Yes.
Somebody who lives with him? Important?
No.
No, nobody who lives with him. Can we presume he lives alone?
Yes. For simplicity, yes.
In a standalone house, say. Like
Yes.
he's not in prison or in an apartment complex or anything like that.
That's right.
Okay. So he lives alone. Is he a specific person that I would have heard of?
Not that you would have heard of, but yeah,
Okay.
this is a real person.
So this guy lives alone in a house
Yes.
and has a toilet. Doesn't matter how many toilets he has.
Let's say one. No, it doesn't.
Does the toilet have any particular unusual characteristics?
None whatsoever.
Okay. And somebody else knew that he hadn't flushed it enough.
Yes, someone else was able to show that he hadn't.
They could show that he hadn't because of his water consumption?
Yes.
Somebody thought he wasn't using enough water.
Yes.
And did it matter that it was specifically the toilets? Was it just that he wasn't using enough water? He lost a job for not using enough water. Would you say that that's more accurate than flushing a toilet specifically?
Yeah, you could say that, yes.
So like if he had taken longer showers, would that have solved the problem?
Potentially. By demonstrating that his water usage was low, these people were trying to show something about his behavior. That doesn't clear it up, does it?
Okay. What do you show about somebody's behavior by showing that they use too little water?
Well, if I could show...
Because I can think of so many of like the opposite. Like if he's trying to get a job in some kind of conservation society and they showed that he was using a ton of water,
Right.
they would be like,
That would be
oh,
wasteful.
he's very wasteful. We don't want him here.
But if you could show about someone that they use very, very little water in their house, what would that tend to...
Oh, he doesn't live there and he's trying to apply for, he's running for politics and they're proving that he doesn't actually live where he says he lives.
You don't need much help. Yes, that's it. David writes, the job in question was a seat in the Pennsylvania state legislature. Democratic candidate Frederick Ramirez, running in a heavily Democratic district, was a shoo-in for the job. His campaign was derailed, however, when a judge ruled that Ramirez was not actually a resident of the district. Although Ramirez owned a house in the district, the court discovered that he'd used only 95 gallons of water in 11 months, or less than 2 toilet flushes a month. In addition, his bedroom light was always on, there was never a trash can out for curbside pickup, there were no photographs or pictures in the house, and his teenage daughter's room was still decorated for an infant. The ruling of the court ended his candidacy, although the party eventually still won the election with a write-in candidate.
So he should have just claimed that he had these great water conservation tactics.
Yeah, right.
He built an outhouse in his backyard.
He's even more deserving. So thanks, David, for sending that.
Thank you, David. And if anyone else has a puzzle they'd like to send in for us to try, please send it to podcast@futilitycloset.com.